Hey guys, hope you're well. My name is Rob. Welcome to Kinetic Rugby League. In this video, I'll be giving you my Super League Round 23 power rankings. Let's get started. So I'm going to have to spoil the entire video straight up because nobody's moved. It's that simple. Some people might think it's laziness, and if you want to make that claim, you can do, but it is not. I genuinely don't feel that I can move anybody. I'll go through each team as I normally do, but the power rankings are unchanged right now. There's a few changes I maybe could have made, but nothing concrete right now. But these are the current power rankings as it stands. I'll go through each team in a little bit, but yeah, no changes. For Hull FC, I think the only thing good for them is that when they showed a bit of intent, they looked alright. But mainly the scoreline, because given the situation that they're in, given the team that they were playing against, under different circumstances, that could have been a wild scoreline, and that could have really killed off a lot of teams. So the only saving grace from last round was the scoreline not being terrible. And that's it. They haven't really got an attack to fall back on, a defence to fall back on. They're just well off it at the moment, unfortunately. London Broncos, on the other hand, actually do have something to fall back on, which is their attack. The defence still needs a lot of work, and when they come up against top attacking teams, it's difficult to compete. There are some teams like in the middle of the pack that they can make it close against, that aren't really connecting and playing as well. So they do have some good defensive displays, but in attack, they're a little bit better right now, and can put some teams under pressure. So that's the main difference between them and Hull FC. Obviously, not good enough against Leigh to really challenge them, but they had some good moments. So, yeah, London at least have an attack to fall back on. Castleford at least have a good attack at times and a good defence at times. It's just a little bit few and far between. There was a chance that they could have moved up because they at least had some respectable moments against Warrington. Maybe the scoreline flattered Warrington a little bit, but I just think in terms of the kicking game, very unorganised. Sometimes there was a good kick chase. Westerman and Watts looked pretty good through the middle. I think Windley had a good effort, like a lot of good efforts trying to run the ball as a number 6 on the right edge. But yeah, it's sometimes okay in attack, sometimes okay in defence. But yeah, too inconsistent right now. They could have moved up one, but they're staying in 10th. Huddersfield were absolutely demolished. Fair play Salford, but yeah, Huddersfield demolished. I thought they'd be not high on confidence, but in good spirits after a few changes to the team and slightly better performances all around. But this could just completely crush them. So they definitely could have moved down with a scoreline like that, but I didn't really feel that there was enough from Castleford to move them up. And if they are to be absolutely wiped out by Saints, given their current situation, and Castleford at least put in a somewhat respectable performance in the next round, then they could easily just swap next week. But yeah, Huddersfield they're weird to place right now. They're just in a very weird position. The fans, I don't know what the fans think, but they must be in such an awkward spot at the moment. Don't really have a great attack regularly. Don't have great defensive displays regularly. And you can't be losing like that. You just can't be. Moving on to Catalans, it feels like they should be a lot lower than this. And trust me, they could be pretty soon. Like, there's the possibility that maybe I think Castleford and even London at a push by the end of the season could be above them on these power rankings. We will see. I think based on expectations, it feels like they should be even lower because we at least expect, based on the squad that they've got, they should be comfortable top 6. Maybe not as comfortable as Hull KR, Wigan and Warrington are right now, and safe, but like we shouldn't be questioning their top 6 chances based on the squad that they've got and the performances they've put in over the last few seasons. But this year, they've just been so inconsistent, and they've put in some horrible efforts, truly horrible displays. So it feels like they should be lower than this, but I think the fact that simply teams below them just are clearly worse, that's the only thing that's holding them up as high as they are in 8th place. But yeah, it's not looking good for Catalans right now. It really isn't. Then you have Leeds in 7th. Fair play. They needed a big confidence boost. You know, losing a position to Leigh, who've looked really good at the moment, so they need to start getting back to winning ways. It's a big win for them as well against a team that they're trying to catch up to. So Leeds right now, they do have the individuals. Like, we know this. Like, the way they start the season, they look pretty good. I think they were as high as third at one point in my power rankings. Like, genuinely, they look like maybe not grand final contenders, but they looked competent. And they looked like they could challenge a lot of teams. They could take teams on and come out on top. But right now, they're just in a very awkward position. I'd imagine that Brad Arthur's got them a lot more hyped, working a lot harder. They're a little bit different, maybe trickier for some other teams, maybe a bit more predictable a few months ago, but now at least a little bit different and more of a clear vision about what they want to do. And given that Brad Arthur's staying on for another year, I think everything that he would want to do with a team he's staying with long term is being implemented in that team. He's not like just doing a few things here and there. He's planning for the future as well. So he's trying to make this team ready to go for next year, not just trying to save the season kind of thing, if that makes sense. But they look a lot better with the ball. They're a little bit more resilient defensively. Sometimes they have a bit more of a plan what they want to do in the last tackle. Sometimes it's still a little bit predictable, but there are individuals that are really turning up right now. So that is just the difference maker for them. Individuals are turning up and they look a little bit more organised. So Leeds still in 7th. Moving on to St Helens, they could have easily moved down. The main reason why they didn't, or the two main reasons, number one is that Leeds are still too inconsistent for me right now. I need to see a little bit more consistency from Leeds before I move them up. Leeds play against London, so we'll kind of have to see how that goes. If they're a bit lacklustre, then maybe they can't really move up. Saints against Huddersfield, if they're so poor, could move down. So we'll have to kind of see how that goes. They're on such bad form right now, but with the injuries that they've got, that is one of the main reasons why I'm sort of hesitant to move them down, because I'm kind of thinking about the circumstances right now. Like, if they did have their full team available, and that's how I like to think of teams, is that if they had their full team available, where would they be, really? So, once everyone's back, once they've got the full ensemble, I think they'll be okay. I think a lot of people forget that they're clearly one of the best attacking teams in the league. Like, they were like well up there in attack. Even whilst they were going through their 5-game loss streak, they were right up there in attack. Like, they demolished teams early on, but we'd kind of forgotten about a lot of those because they were in such poor form at the time. I think they can turn it around, and they can be a real tricky team and a dark horse once they've got the full team available going into playoffs, if they manage to make it. But with a lot of the young lads, it's difficult right now, but they've had plenty of experience at this point, or will have plenty of experience by the end of the season, and we're just looking for more improvements week to week. That eventually, if they at least have some consistency in the team with those young lads, they'll learn a bit more about the positions, what they're made of as individuals. Maybe Paul Wellens can get a tune out of them. I know Saints fans don't think he can get a tune out of anybody right now, but there's at least something to focus on, is seeing what the young lads can do. I think that's the main thing for Saints fans right now. Don't worry too much about playoffs, because you've had so much success. It's alright if you have a down year, that's fine. Just focus on the good work that the young lads are doing. And they're doing alright, but Saints still in 6th. Salford came out against Huddersfield with an incredible display. I thought it might be not close or tricky, but I thought Huddersfield could have some moments to at least stay in the game. And Salford haven't been perfect by any means over the last couple of weeks as well. But a performance like that, that'll do the world of good for Salford fans especially, because with how crazy things are going around the top 6 challenge right now, with how results are going, to put in an effort like that must calm a lot of nerves. Think, are we a team that's at risk? Like, we're not looking too consistent at the moment. Some performances have been a bit lackluster. We've lost control in some games. We've just not been in the fight in some games. Like, how is this going to go? And then to come out with a performance like that, yes, against a struggling Huddersfield team at the moment, but there's still been some good signs from the Giants that maybe they could have an impact and have a say in the final result. But to come out with something like that must ease a lot of nerves for Salford fans, and especially the players as well, knowing that they can kind of get back to that level, that it's within this group of players right now to put up 60 points against anybody will do them the world of good. And if they can take that confidence into next week, it's a big game against Hull KR coming up. Can they have a say in the League Leaders Shield race? I don't know. It's going to be a very tough game, but it's a good time to get a result like that. And I think firmly make the top 5. And I can't see this top 5 being replaced at all. Like, the order might change at some point, but I can't see this top 5 changing right now. So Salford have pretty much cemented top 5. Unless they have some shocking efforts, I don't think there's anyone else that can kind of reach this group. So Salford still in 5th. Now we move on to Leigh in 4th. I don't see any risk of them being overtaken by Salford just yet. That would require, I think, a few dodgy performances and a few strong ones from Salford over the next couple of weeks. So I think, for me, top 4 is pretty much secure. I think the gap to Warrington is very, very close. And I will say, depending on circumstances, like, we'll have to see how the context of the game is next week. I think they could overtake Warrington if they win. The only reason why I think they wouldn't is if they won, but there are a bunch of sin bins for Warrington, dodgy ref calls, like, depends on context, but the gap to Warrington is really, really close and isn't far off Wigan at all either. The genuine contenders for me for the grand final, if they can make the top 6, they are right there. They are right there. They've got some tricky games to come, and we'll have to see how they go, but right now, the good thing for Leigh is that they're playing at a pretty high level and they're doing it consistently. That's the most important thing for them. So I thought that London could be tricky, especially with their attack. They've looked really good the last couple of weeks. Defensively sound, didn't let anything crazy happen, and still look strong on the attacking side. Good organisation, pretty strong through the middle still, spreading the ball around nicely. So Leigh looking really good right now. And as I said, genuine contenders for a grand final if they make the top 6. Moving on to Warrington in 3rd. Not the prettiest games back-to-back against Leeds and Castleford, but they're getting the results. And defensively as well, the displays defensively, especially on the goal line, have been pretty solid. So that's a good thing for Warrington, because I can see Leigh putting them on the back foot next week. So it's just about how resilient can they be on their own line. I think they've been okay at times, and it's been individuals kind of dragging us out of situations. Like, Drinkwater's kicking game has been fine at times. Some smart decisions here and there. Toby King has been pretty solid on both sides, so has Roderick Ty. George Williams continuing to have an effect on the attacking side as well. And such a big effort from Kai Taylor-Ray against Castleford. I'm so happy for him. If anyone wants to see my full highlights of my reaction to the game, you can go to TikTok. The link is in the description. You can see my latest video reacting to basically his try and his other stuff. But great for him, and that's great for the team going forwards, because the most, as much as he looks like Matt Duffy in the way that he plays is so important. Not changing things around, being able to at least play in the same kind of style, which it felt like didn't disrupt the team too much. I think there's still a couple times where we're too slow through the middle, and that's why I want Danny Walker to start games. I think Sam Powell is fine, but I personally want Danny Walker to start. And yeah, we need to be a bit quicker through the middle. That's my only issue. And against strong teams like Leigh coming up, we need to be quicker through the middle. And I want to see Danny Walker starting. Because if we start slow against Leigh, if we let it get out of hand like we did against Hull KR, for example, we're going to struggle. We're really going to struggle. But defensively, no real complaints right now. With the ball, it needs a bit of work. It's kind of off at the moment. But individuals are just dragging us through right now, which I'm okay with, but the last couple of games, we need to start getting some proper unity and teamwork on the attacking side, and then I'll feel a lot more confident. But right now, Warrington's still in 3rd. Wigan in 2nd at the moment. Not their prettiest game by any means. I think Wigan fans will admit that as well. Not their prettiest game last round, but again, they're still getting the job done. Still without some of the key players. Jack Farriman getting more game time, show what he's capable of. I think he should be very proud of these efforts that he's put in this season as well. And it's a little bit weird for Wigan, because they're getting the results, but fortunately for them, they're not being challenged too much. They understand that the performances don't look great, but I think I think a lot of Wigan fans are just happy that they're not under too much pressure right now, firmly into playoffs, are still getting a somewhat easy run of games here and there, and are still within that fight with Hull KR. And then once they get all the first team players back in, that's when they can start to thrive and push on and, get back to the top of my power rankings, because that's where they want to be, obviously. And the top of the Super League ladder, which they can still do, because, of course, when they play Hull KR in a few weeks' time, they could really cement themselves back at the top. So we will have to see how that goes. But on the attacking side, it's still not perfect because of young players in there, but they're learning. A little bit like with Saints at the moment, but it's not at the same degree of changes. But they're getting some good experience. And on the defensive side, still look pretty good and look unfazed for the most part. So Wigan still in second. In first place, Hull Kingston Rovers, very clearly. Defensively, they look unfazed. Teams, it doesn't look like teams are putting them under pressure to the point where it's like, okay, well, they're going to break at some point. Like, they're only just holding on defensively and somehow they're coming up with these efforts. No, they look unfazed defensively. Teams just aren't finding ways through. They look really well organised. And with the ball, much better kicking games, good kick chases, defensive pressure, pinning teams back is great. When they spread the ball to the edges, they're very precise. Passes are accurate, so players don't have to break stride as well. They keep up that momentum and speed. When they go down short sides or they're in tight spaces, they move the ball around accurately as well, very precisely. And they just look immense with the ball right now. They're playing with a lot of speed, a lot of accuracy, a lot of aggression, but don't look ill-disciplined with that aggression on both sides of the ball. So Hull KR are just great right now. And for me, I think I see 3 challenges coming up. One is Wigan, but that's dependent on the personnel that they've got available. Number 2 is playoff semi-final. And number 3 is the grand final. They're the only challenges I see, because even if they don't make the top 2, which I'd be surprised if they don't, but even if they don't, they'll start from Eliminator 1. And whoever they play in that round, I think they'll be fine. Unless somehow they come up against Leigh, that would be their only real test. But everyone else should be fine. So I only really see a test in the playoff semi-finals and then possibly the grand final. So it's looking really good for Hull KR right now. They've got some tough games coming up, but I think they'll handle them extremely well. So I don't think they're that tough, aside from probably the Wigan game. But that's it. Hull KR just look great right now. So there you have my unchanged Super League Round 23 power rankings. If you've got your own, do let me know in the comments down below. Have I been unfair about anything? Any changes that you would make? Do let me know. But yeah, that's going to be it. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you next time.